When two of our favorite brands launch new concealers, oh, that screams Friday Face Off. If you're not sure what a Friday Face Off is and you have not watched any of the series, let me just tell you real quickly. It's where we do an application and an 8-hour wear test of two products that are marketing-wise say they do the same things, but you know, we gotta go a step further than that because we have more mature under eyes, and so we need to know what are the ingredients, how are they gonna play with our more mature skin, and that's what today's Friday Face Off is all about. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Jodi, I'm 55. Think of me as your midlife beauty bestie, and welcome to the series Friday Face Off. We've compared everything from mascaras to dry shampoos to foundations to blushes to lipsticks to lip liners. We compare products that from a marketing perspective say they do the same thing. So what are we talking about today? The new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Blur Concealer, which sells for $36 and comes in 34 shades, against Maybelline's Lifter Serum Concealer. This sells for $13.99 and comes in 18 shades. The marketing in both of these say that they offer a natural finish, full coverage, and added hydration. The Charlotte Tilbury Concealer goes so far as to say it doubles the hydration after just 1 hour. So let's see how these apply, and then we'll do an 8-hour wear test. The only thing I have under my eyes right now is some eye cream moisturizer, and it's been sitting for about 10 minutes. I would sometimes use a color corrector, but I'm not gonna do that because right now the discoloration, it gets darker if I eat sugar the day before. I knew I was doing this, so I didn't want them to be super purpley. If they were, I would use a color corrector, but they're not. So I want to see just kind of what depth of full coverage do we get, so then you can decide if you want to use a color corrector or a brightener underneath them or not. Oh, before I forget, my lip combo for today, see you guys, I'm getting better at this, is Mauve lip liner in M1990 with South Shore by Makeup by Mario. That is what I have going on today. All right, so this Charlotte Tilbury Concealer, I have it in shade 4.5. It comes in a doe foot applicator. It definitely offers full coverage. It does have a lightweight feel to it. It doesn't feel heavy at all. This concealer is built on a silicone elastomer system, meaning the formula forms a flexible, smoothing film over the skin rather than sitting heavily on top of it. These ingredients create a stretchable mesh layer that move with facial expressions. Think primer plus concealer combined. In terms of hydration, this formula contains glycerin, hyaluronic acid, and squalane. These attract and hold moisture without the formula feeling heavy or greasy, which means on our more mature skin, you get hydration without heaviness, smoother appearance of fine lines, and flexible wear throughout the entire day. Now here's the side I haven't applied the concealer, and there's the difference. The Charlotte Tilbury Concealer also contains silicone elastomers, which gives us a blurring effect, and mica for soft luminosity, which means we get a soft focus blur in this high movement wrinkle area, refined texture, and a lightweight skin-like finish. The formula is designed to visually smooth this under eye area rather than heavily conceal. So it's a thin, lightweight formula, instantly smoothing to the under eye area. I feel like some of my wrinkles are less noticeable. And it's a slightly radiant, but a controlled radiant finish. So it's not matte, it's not shiny, it's not greasy or slippy feeling. It's just, it is a very beautiful concealer. So the Maybelline Lifter Concealer Serum, I have it in shade 30. It is a doe foot applicator as well. It's a little smaller. On our more mature skin, you can apply your concealer right to your eye. I actually prefer to put it on the back of my hand first and then pick it up with a brush. I'm just putting it on my under eye area today, just so that you can see how pigmented it is. And either way, there's no right or wrong way. They're not an exact match. Again, this is 4.5 in the Charlotte Tilbury, and this is 30 in the Maybelline. They're pretty close. I probably could go a little bit lighter in the Charlotte Tilbury and be happy with it, but I love this look. And we're not gonna set these with powder either, so we're gonna go throughout the day to see how these wear. Do they settle? Do they crease? All the things we don't want, we're gonna check it out. So let's get into this one by Maybelline. The key ingredients in this formula: hydrogenated polysubutane, microcrystalline wax, and paraffin. These ingredients create a cushioned cream layer that grips pigment and adds softness. Now I put my concealer on this way because the majority of the wrinkles are right underneath this eye area. So I don't want to put the majority of the product where I have the most wrinkle area. I do need coverage right through here, and I need coverage up in here. So that's where I place the product, and then I will move it slightly, but where I want the smallest amount of product. This formula also contains glycerin. One of the main differences between the two formulations is that the Maybelline formula focuses on comfort and moisture retention rather than lightweight blurring, which is what we get on the Charlotte Tilbury side. What that means for mature skin is that this formula feels nourishing, reduces dry looking under eyes, yes please, I'll take that all day, and adds visual fullness. The Maybelline formula also contains caffeine, which helps support depuffiness. The Maybelline side also leaves you with a radiant finish. It has silica for some oil control and waxes to help give it that structure. Based on the formulation, the Maybelline concealer should give us a creamier coverage, brighter immediate effect, and a more cushioned, softer appearance. So think softer, hydrated, versus blurring. Ideally, we'd get both. I applied both of these with the Nikki LaRose N19, if you're wondering what this brush is. The weight on this brush is so perfect. The weight and the design. I mean, I love this brush. Here's what both concealers look like upon application. The pigmentation or the full coverage that you get from both of them, undeniable. If you have darker circles under your eyes, you may need to use a color corrector first, but in terms of a full coverage concealer, I love how both of these went on. I don't feel the concealer on either side, meaning that they're lightweight, they tend to move well. So here's what both concealers look like upon application. I am going to add just a little bit of eyeshadow just at the lash line to finish my look for the day. And then I will be back at we'll go 8 hours and see how these are holding up. We're gonna look for things like hydration, do they look dry, how do they feel? And of course, the most important, in my book anyway, is did either of these slip and find themselves at the bottom of every one of those wrinkles that I have under my eye? And remember, if you're new to my channel, those wrinkles, well, they're laugh lines, they're lines from the life that we have lived. And while I don't want to put them on huge display, they are there, and there's no concealer that is going to erase the under eye area, the under eye wrinkles, but the Charlotte Tilbury concealer is formulated to blur, and I'm all about blurring. I never thought I would embrace blurring as much as I do in my 50s. Here's what these two concealers look like now. And here's what they look like 9 hours later. Before we get into these, I got to thinking about the question that you guys might have, and that is, how do either of these compare to the RMS Revitalized Hydra Concealer, which you know is one of my favorites? I think the biggest difference is this is a little bit more hydrating. This has a bit of a serum-y feel to it. Serum, I need to say that correctly. I've been corrected a few times on my channel about the way I say serum. Serum. And the Charlotte Tilbury is a little bit of a thicker formula. Now remember, the Charlotte Tilbury also has hydrating properties in it, but it's not as much skincare as the RMS. It's also more full coverage, the Charlotte Tilbury is, than the RMS. If you're looking for a dupe maybe for that RMS Revitalized Hydra Concealer, the ingredient makeup and the overall performance of the e.l.f. Hydra Camo Concealer is very similar to the RMS. So I'll link both of those down below if you've heard me talk about this one, but the price point isn't there for you. Again, the e.l.f. is a good dupe. Again, the biggest difference between the two is this is a thicker formula, more full coverage than this. So if you like a medium hydrating formula, the RMS is probably your better choice. If you like a little more full coverage, then the Charlotte Tilbury is looking like it's going to be a really good option for you. All right, when you look at both of these concealers and how they've worn, we have to remember that we didn't set these with a powder. Any formula, whether it's your foundation, your blush, your concealer, if it's a liquid or a cream, it's going to last longer if you lock it in with a very light dusting of powder, which you can do with both of these. I think that what I'm going to do going forward is, I love the look of the Charlotte Tilbury, and I would set this with the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Brightening Powder that you'll see in a favorites video next week. In fact, in that favorites video, my February favorites, I'm highlighting a different concealer, and that is the Cossus concealer. It is more of a serum-y concealer as well, more medium coverage. It would fall very similar in line with the RMS. So think serum, really hydrating, medium coverage versus blurring effect, also hydrating, but not as hydrating, and more full coverage. But I would need to set the Charlotte Tilbury with a little dusting of powder, and I think it would have locked in that look much longer. I do feel like the Charlotte Tilbury side smoothed out my texture and blurred this under eye area, which I am all for, without it looking dry and cakey. I think it's a really good option for those of us that have some discoloration and a little bit of crepiness or texture to our under eye area, and we want that blurring effect. On the Maybelline side, I like the coverage that I got up till about hour 5. Now again, had I set this with a little bit of powder, I might have got a little bit more wear out of it, but I found that it slipped a little bit more than the Charlotte Tilbury, which makes sense when you look at the ingredients. And I think this would be a better option if you have more dry under eye areas. The Maybelline is a creamier, more rich formula, and you can see that in the way that these wore. So would you go wrong with either one of them? Absolutely not. I think if you could set this one with powder, it's probably gonna be my new favorite. And again, I've already filmed my February favorites, so I did not know this was gonna be in the running. This might be in my March favorites. This might be a holy grail for 2026. We'll see what else comes on the market, but I'm very, very impressed with the way this wore. And my under eye area is the one area, or my concealer selection is the one area that I am the most pickiest about, because I just lose concealer. Like my under eye area just, it eats concealer. I don't know where the concealer goes, but in a few hours it just doesn't last that long. And I don't want to have to set it with powder. I wouldn't have to have set this one with powder till about the 4-hour mark. So that's probably how I will wear this. I won't set it with powder in the morning, and then I'll go about 4 or 5 hours, press in any wrinkled area, because once you set a powder to it, it's going to lock in. I'll link the powder down below that I'm going to set this with. Again, you'll see that in my next video, which is my February favorites. It's a really nice powder, very, very lightweight. It's a brightening powder. It's also a setting finishing powder. And then at about the 4-hour mark, I would probably just tap that powder to the under eye area. So again, this is a nice concealer. It just needs a little bit of help to get it to last throughout the day. Good full coverage, but you probably need to set it with powder right out of the gate. Well, that does it for today's Friday face-off. Some good options. I mean, there have been some really good concealers coming out on the market. That new Costas concealer is a really nice one for those of you that have more dry under eye areas and you want medium coverage, very similar to the RMS. And then you saw how both of these wore. So as far as concealers go, do I have a new holy grail? I do like a full coverage, so probably yes. All right, you guys, that does it for me. Like I said, be sure to stay tuned for the next video, because it is all about my February favorites, and you'll see yet another concealer and some powder and some moisturizer, some blushes that you don't want to miss. So that's coming up on Sunday. I'll see you in just a couple days. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.